Just off the coast of Australia lies the world's largest coral reef system. Stretching over 2,300 kilometers, the Great Barrier Reef is made up of nearly 3,000 individual reef systems. These reefs are home to thousands of different species of fish and aquatic life. Over the past 50 years, the reef has been under attack and sections of it have begun to die off. Humans continually pollute the air and the oceans, which has caused the climate to change drastically. This change of temperature of oceans across the globe has directly affected the reef and biomes that exist within it. One result of this temperature change is coral bleaching, a process which is fatal to coral colonies. Coral bleaching was only identified as a global issue after the first major bleaching event in 1998 when the ocean floor temperature increased 1 degree Celsius over its average monthly temperature for an extended period of time. Although the direct cause of this phenomenon was due to the 1997-1998 El Nino event, scientists and marine biologists began to connect the increasing greenhouse gas emissions with the rise in the ocean floor temperature. The reason that the Great Barrier Reef is so valuable is because of the vast biodiversity it supports. The hundreds of different species that live among the reef depend on the continued growth and sustainment of the coral. Without the coral, the entire ecosystem of the reef collapses. This not only affects the marine life along the coast, but humans as well. The reef serves as a natural border that protects the coast from waves and other damaging natural occurrences, such as tropical. From an economic standpoint, the Great Barrier Reef acts as a nursery for young fish to grow before moving out into the ocean. Many of these species are vital to the fishing industry of Australia. The reef also generates over $1.5 billion in revenue from fishing and tourism each year, making it essential to the country's economic prosperity. The amount of complications intertwined in the destruction of the Great Barrier Reef is what makes it a wicked problem. One proposed solution by the Australian government is the Reef 2050 plan. Within the plan, the key ideas are to limit dredging and dumping of sediment in the World Heritage Area, limit the expansion of large ports along the coast, and decrease the chemical runoff, as well as increase the water quality along the Queensland coast. However, in this plan, they provide no additional funding to protect the reef and no acknowledgement of climate change, despite the fact that the cost of the plan is estimated at $8.2 billion. Critics claim that this plan was created solely to convince UNESCO not to include the Great Barrier Reef on its World Heritage in Danger list. Another critique of the plan is that it does not address the large amount of carbon dioxide emissions and runoff created by coal mines. In order to have a lasting effect on preserving the reef, the government must regulate the amount of coal being mined and emissions being produced on the northern coast. Finally, critics say that even the problems that the plan does address are not addressed properly. For example, the plan limits dumping of sediments in the World Heritage Area, but does not actually alter the amount of dumping that can occur, just the location. Although the plan would take more money and technology to achieve, the problem is far greater and more complicated than this. Political and economic influence plays a much larger role than any data ever could, again making this problem a wicked one. Two key concepts of governmentality that come into play in the Great Barrier Reef issue are ways of seeing and perceiving, and technology and experts. There are plenty of ways of perceiving this issue. Fishers advocate, of course, for continued fishing in the Great Barrier Reef. They also often support sustainable fishing, which preserves their livelihood in the future. The tourism industry also aims to continue doing business in the Great Barrier Reef. Even so, the preservation of this industry relies on the preservation of the reef. Without a healthy, thriving reef, tourism profits will likely fall. Industries polluting the air and water, however, aim to continue doing business, but are not as heavily concerned with the preservation of the reef. Most industries that pollute or harm the reef, such as farming, energy, and shipping, don't significantly gain from preservation of the reef. These industries are perhaps the biggest threat to the reef. Experts almost unanimously agree that the reef is being harmed. Countless studies have shown that the health of the reef is rapidly decreasing, and some scientists have gone as far as pronouncing the reef dead. As a result, many Australian citizens are concerned. In surveys performed by WWF and the Australian Marine Conservation Society, 2/3 of Australians agree that the Great Barrier Reef should be declared a national emergency. Furthermore, 86% of respondents agree that the government should legislate to stop the pollution of the water with farming chemicals. Despite an expert and public consensus, the Australian government continues to allow significant harm to the reef to continue.